So moving over to video number 2 now. So I'm just going to carry on going over some of your comments. So one of you said, and this is in relation to the documentary Inside Our Autistic Minds, one of you said that you still don't fully understand the idea of masking. To mask from such an early age, as Flo did in a documentary, to mask from such an early age and at home in front of your parents sounds both exhausting and surprising. Surprising because, to me, it seems it would take a degree of theory of mind that you wouldn't expect a younger child to possess, a neurotypical child, let alone an autistic child. From an ADHD OCD perspective, you remember deliberately trying to act like everyone around you from around the time you started secondary school, but you were still bullied and teachers thought you were lazy. So for me it's also around secondary school that I first tried to kind of fit in, but again, like you, it didn't work. So obviously masking, was only ever half effective, I guess. Luckily for me, I was never properly bullied or anything. And that's very lucky because I know lots of autistic people have been horrendously bullied. I was lucky. It might have just been the school I was at was kind of a good, in inverted commas, school with not much in the way of, at least, I think it didn't have much in the way of bullying going on. The type of people who attended the school, it was quite a kind of, good, in inverted commas, school. And probably just down to luck. I mean, I was so outwardly weird that maybe it was almost like I was just so weird though, and also I tended to deflect, because I tended to kind of go along with people teasing me. People did tease me, but because I kind of tended to go along with it, I guess I wasn't giving them a reaction they wanted to. I kind of just found it funny, and I don't know, but I was lucky. I was never bullied in any really big way, so I was lucky in that respect. Particularly as I was so outwardly weird. Another one of you said that you think the idea of certain spaces being intolerable for autistics is purely based off stereotypes. So that's in relation to the bit where I was saying from a documentary on Inside Our Autistic Minds, the bit where Packham was commenting on Flo being very happy on stage and made a passing comment that you might not expect out of an autistic person. I think Packham was just there sort of saying what, say, someone who doesn't know much about autism might assume, but obviously that isn't the case, because obviously, as you point out in your comment, autism does not dictate personality. The only shared characteristic is developmental delay in specific areas, and that's why masking, you say, from the age of 4 is impossible. Having socio-emotional deficits is nothing to do with the type of clothes you like, the foods you eat or any of that. And then you start talking about how you were at the age of 4, just highlighting how, masking from that age is impossible and how inappropriate you were at that age. So I'm just going to share what you wrote. So you said, at age 4, you let the entire class know when you needed help cleaning yourself in a bathroom at preschool by fully bending over and spreading my bum cheeks, lol. And entire class erupted in laughter, and I still did it again and again despite being laughed at. You did this at home as well, despite being scolded by parents who tried to stop you engaging in the repetitive act of spreading your butt cheeks to whoever was in the room. The act of wiping your own bum was a challenging and tiring task, considering it took you longer than necessary to learn how to do this yourself. Poop is a taboo subject. It is part of human nature, but obviously, although it's part of human nature, obviously there are certain social rules around it, and at that age you weren't following them, so you got into trouble. And you also had severe anxiety around locking yourself into the toilet, and you think that might be down to some motor issues, like you found it hard to lock the toilet and then you were very worried that your privacy would be invaded. So you had an intense fear over toileting, a lot of anxiety over potty training for you was really horrendous. This, by the way, is really important to talk about because it's a part of autism that just isn't often talked about, but it is a really big part of autism for many children, and some people, particularly those who are more cognitively challenged never actually grow out of this. But even for those with Asperger's, as you yourself is an Asperger, this is very common. And I know another autistic person who said about when she's got Asperger's and ADHD, and she said that when she was a kid, her dad had to wipe her bum for her, I think up until about the age of 8 or 9 or something, because she really struggled with that kind of thing. And yeah, and it's not often talked about, but yeah, also for me as well, I struggled with those things as well from when I was a kid, and like parents doing a lot, those sort of like self-help tasks for you for a lot longer than like would consider to be typical. And also, I also struggled to clean myself properly and stuff. And my mum would often like say that I mention it as well. That I hadn't cleaned myself properly and stuff. And I think again, it's probably down to a combination of like motor skill difficulties, but also maybe a lack of social awareness around these sort of like hygiene tasks and stuff like that. And I also did things like when you said that you did it again and again repetitively, even when people were like telling you not to do it. That's quite a common autistic thing as well. Again, it's often not talked about, where an autistic person will engage in an inappropriate behaviour. This is often children, although obviously like it can happen in adulthood as well for some autistics, but particularly in childhood, doing something that is inappropriate. So you get told off for it, but you carry on doing it. So a teacher or a parent will tell you off for it, but you don't respond to being told off. You just, because you're completely in this kind of repetitive thing, and you don't realise that it's inappropriate or what the social rules are, so you basically don't care. I used to wet myself when I was at primary school, and deliberately, by the way, and basically other children would go, "Oh, that's disgusting," and I found it funny. A bit like what you were saying when other kids laughed at you, but you kept on doing the behaviour. For me, basically, yeah, other kids would laugh at me, but I would carry on doing it over and over and over and over again, because obviously that is really socially inappropriate to do that, and also I was about 8 or 9, which is way too old to do things like that. But again, this isn't talked about. This is what autism is like. This is never talked about. I don't do that anymore, by the way. You do grow up eventually. Even autistic people grow up. But this is something that maybe a 2-year-old might do. The thing with autism is that like we can develop at a lot slower pace than like other people. So we do get there eventually, and we do grow up. Currently, I would say I'm probably of a similar level to someone in their late teens, like emotionally. I feel like I'm going through a protracted adolescence, but we do grow up eventually. It's just that there's a time lag, so we do tend to be significantly behind our actual age, which I think is part of the reason why I don't really feel like an adult still. I know lots of adults say that, but for me it's like, I think it is very much connected to my autism. Like, it is actually a real thing. So yeah, so it's important to talk about these things. It's just not something a neurodiversity movement really talks about, but it's part of autism. And so thank you for mentioning that. I know these things can sometimes maybe be a bit embarrassing to mention, but it's important to talk about it. So I thank you for being so candid and so open about your past, because it just shows, what autism is like, and the parts that just are often not talked about or covered in the media. I guess because it's not the happy face of autism. I can relate to the anxiety around locking a toilet door as well. I still have anxiety about that. Obviously, I don't go out anymore because I'm housebound. When I used to go out, to cafes and things like that, I'd always have to ask a support worker to hold the toilet door because I always worried I would lock myself in as well. So I can relate to that. So, yeah, and then you also said that your preschool teachers complained to your parents about your inappropriate behaviour, and that's why your parents opted to try a special ed programme for you. So I think they were all of the comments for now. I just want to say that there is another episode of this programme next week, so I will be doing another review of the programme next week. The bit about masking, I thought it was very interesting when you said about how impossible, how baffled a lot of you were by the fact that Flo said she masked from the age of 4. And I agree, I think it is quite strange. How can you fully mask from that age? And a comment that you just gave just then about being inappropriate around toileting and showing, at that age, just shows how, just shows how different your experience is, say, from Flo. And Flo's experience is very different to mine as well. At the age of 4, I was completely oblivious to any notion of putting on an act or trying to be anything other than myself, my natural self. I got into a lot of trouble for it. In reception at primary school, I would usually take myself over to the reading corner while we were supposed to be working and basically just sing to myself or read books aloud, and then I got into trouble because I was supposed to be working, or supposed to be doing whatever activity we were supposed to be doing. Oh yeah, I remember there was another instance in year 1, talking about memories. I actually remember this really clearly now. A couple of girls were in the toilets, and I basically was looking under the toilet door at them, because the toilet door is quite high, so I was looking under the toilet door at them, and then obviously that really annoyed them, and then one of them came out and she looked like she was about to bite me. She went, and I really thought she was going to bite me, so I ran out of the toilet screaming. And I ran really fast, bolted right into the classroom. The teacher put her hand out like that, stop! Because I was literally just about to run right through the classroom. No concept of masking. I didn't focus on my work or anything. There are loads of things I could tell you about my past. The whole idea of masking at that age, I really don't get. But anyway, thank you for watching.